You probably could not imagine not having your small, efficient smartphone and computer to use spontaneously to do the things you love, like social media, games, music, managing your calendar, and many other things with only a touch of a finger. You should know that Steve Jobs had the same idea, that there should be a device that could do these things in one single gadget. He thought it was great that people could have these electronics to make life not only better, but also easier. It all started when he was born in San Francisco, California on February 24th, 1955. When Jobs was young, he loved electronics and played with them often. Jobs dropped out of Reed College in Portland, Oregon after being enrolled for only 2 years. After leaving college, he got a job at Atari Video Games. Soon after, Jobs and his friend, Steve Wozniak, started assembling the Apple I in 1976 and introduced it to the Homebrew Computer Club in Silicon Valley, California. Later that same year, Jobs and Wozniak started to create their company called Apple Computer Incorporated. Steve Jobs and Wozniak created the Apple I computers in Jobs' garage and sold them to computer enthusiasts. Jobs and 2 other friends, Steve Wozniak and Dan Kotke, showed off the Apple I at the Atlantic City Computing Fair. They had a hard time selling the Apple I because it was very expensive. It cost $666.66, which is today equivalent to almost $2,800. The Apple II debuted in 1977 and was much more popular than the Apple I. The Apple I, with 4 kilobytes of memory, cost $666 then, which is $2,800 today. The Apple II, with 4 kilobytes of memory, cost almost $1,300 then, which is $5,400 today. If you wanted an Apple II with 48 kilobytes of memory, it would cost you over $2,600 then, which is about $11,000 today. The Apple II was so popular at the time because it was considered the first PC. It was also the first microcomputer to be able to generate color graphics. In addition, the Apple II was the first computer to have an attached keyboard. In 1978, Apple wanted to increase the efficiency of the Apple II, so Wozniak took on the challenge of making the computer without cassette tapes to store programs and data, and instead used a floppy disk to increase the speed and efficiency dramatically. A cassette tape is a rectangular case that usually holds music, but in this case contains computer programs and data. What made cassettes so slow was that whenever you needed to go to a certain portion of the tape, that entire tape might have to wind either forward or backward a long distance to get there, and that could take up to a minute. What was better and more efficient about the floppy disk was that whenever you wanted to get to a certain portion of the disk had to only spin a small amount, allowing the program or data to be reached in just a couple of seconds. Wozniak also connected the Apple II's display to the main memory. This doesn't seem important, but it was extremely efficient for making the computer run a lot faster. Jobs knew everybody loved music, and he wanted to change how people listened to their music by making it more accessible and portable. He released Apple's very first iPod in October of 2001. Nathan Shulhoff, creator of the MP3 player, said the iPod was an amazing device that is great for any occasion, and that Apple was always ahead and knew what the consumers wanted. The iPod was revolutionary because it made it easy to carry your whole music library using iTunes. Having the iTunes software on your computer allowed you to easily download all of your CDs or purchase music through iTunes Store. Then you just connect your iPod to your computer and iTunes syncs all the music on your computer to your iPod. The iPod was also a revolutionary device because of its small size. The battery of the iPod had an ability to last a long time, up to 10 hours per charge. This was one of the longest battery charges of any electronic of that time. The iPod charged its battery in an extremely efficient way. It used a new charging and data cable called FireWire. You could plug your iPod into your Mac and it would charge, or you could plug it into a wall outlet if for some reason you did not have your Mac. Another thing about the iPod was it used a click wheel to navigate the menus, which was much more efficient than up and down buttons, and was a precursor to the touchscreen. This was so important for the consumer because it was a lot easier to spin the wheel to navigate the iPod than to push a variety of buttons. There were many versions of the iPod that were sold, and they sold a lot of them, over 250 million iPods. They were called iPod, iPod Mini, iPod YouTube Special Edition, iPod Shuffle, iPod Nano, iPod with video, and iPod Touch. The many versions had different price ranges, which allowed it to be more affordable to more people. That's why the iPod is so amazing. Jobs thought there needed to be an ultimate device that could do everything his previous products could do: play music, computer capabilities, internet access, and including a phone.
So, 3 things: a widescreen iPod with touch controls, a revolutionary mobile phone, and a breakthrough internet communications device. An iPod, a phone, and an internet communicator. An iPod, a phone. Are you getting it? These are not 3 separate devices. This is one device. And we are calling it iPhone. Today, Apple is going to reinvent the phone.
Jobs simply called it the iPhone, and originally came out with 1 gigabyte or 2 gigabytes of memory. Not only could the iPhone play music and access the internet, but it also had a camera and obviously phone capabilities. There were 10 main iPhones that came out: the iPhone 1, iPhone 3G, iPhone 3GS, iPhone 4, iPhone 4S, iPhone 5, iPhone 5C, iPhone 5S, and the newest are the iPhone 6 and the iPhone 6 Plus. The main improvements from the original iPhone to today's iPhone 6 were increasing the camera's megapixels from 2 to 8, also improving the battery life from 8 to 24 hours of talk time, and enlarging the screen size. Lastly, but most importantly, the memory size increased from 1 gigabyte to 128 gigabytes. The iPad came out in 2010. When it was introduced, Steve Jobs thought it was a truly magical thing. Jobs wanted it to be better than the Macs and the iPhones at key tasks, such as browsing the web, email, photo sharing, videos, music, games, and ebooks. The iPad had several new, unique features. It was thin and light and had high-quality displays. The screen would auto-rotate if you turned the iPad, and you could navigate with the touch of a finger. All of Steve Jobs' revolutionary devices were so amazing because of each device's ability to do something special. Then the new products would adopt and improve on those abilities. This consistent innovation allows Apple to continue to get better and grow now and into the future. Steve Jobs died on October 5, 2011, after fighting pancreatic cancer for 8 years. He was 56 years old. Steve Jobs' legacy comes from his products and revolutionary innovations which have shaped and continue to shape the computerized world.